Yeah, okay. A very good evening to all our HDs and viewers who are watching us live on Facebook and YouTube. A very warm welcome to the Author Saga series. A quick recap for those of you who are new to Pick a Book. Pick a Book is all about reading and more reading and inculcating the habit of reading, research, and presenting the summary of it in our regular meeting sessions. Creating a better world by changing the sense of self through the habit of reading is the vision of Pick a Book. Currently, Pick a Book marked its inspiring presence in four countries: Sri Lanka, India, Singapore, and UK, with over 1,200 plus readers, 18 plus regions, and 100,000 plus people inspired through our sessions so far, all in just span of over 1 year. So while Pickabook continues to spread its wings across the globe, we have come up with this a beautiful initiative called Author Saga. It's a brand of our own, wherein the authors can reach their readers and individuals with like-minded interests. Authors can discuss, the key insights of their books, and the readers can have this wonderful opportunity to know more about the book from the author himself. So today we have with us Mr. Ashok Ferrey with his wonderful book, Unmarriageable Man.
Hi, Swarna. Thank you very much for having me on this show.
Okay. Hey, hi. Thank you so much, and we're pleasure to have you. Yes. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, just to know a little bit more about Mr. Ashok, he's a best-selling Sri Lankan author. He got a degree in pure mathematics from Oxford University, but ended up as a builder in London in 1980. At the age of 30, he returned to Sri Lanka, where he continues to design and build houses. His last, the Cricket Club Cafe in Colombo, has just been nominated for Jeffrey Bawa Award. He is the author of five books, all of them nominated for various prizes, both Indian and Sri Lankan, including the Gratian Prize, the State Lit Award, and the SC Prize. And his new book, The Unmarriageable Man, just released by Penguin India, was named by GQ magazine as one of the best reads of 2021. And uh, to everybody's knowledge, Ashok is also a personal trainer. So that's great to know about you, Mr. Ashok, and glad to have you in the show tonight.
Thank you, Swarna. Pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
Yes. So is my voice echoing or is it clear?
No, it's fine at this end. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Great. Okay. Okay. First of all, from Pickable community and everybody who is watching us live, we all would like to congratulate you on this beautiful book, and we all wish you a long way in writing.
Thanks. Thank you very much. It's always very nervous. One is always very nervous when a book comes out. You never know which way it'll go. So, well, so far, so good. Touch wood. Touch wood.
Yeah, that's a good quality to have anyway, so no regrets. Mm, good. Okay, so are you an avid reader, Ashok? Um,
Actually, the funny thing is, I used to be an avid reader. Now that I'm
mm,
in the business of writing books, I read but
okay.
less. And it's terrible because it's rather like a tailor watching somebody else's clothes. You always
Okay.
make a judgment on it, so it kind of ruins the book for you
Mm,
when you see the
mm,
nuts and bolts of how another author deals with certain things. It's terrible being
yeah.
an author, trust me, as a for a reader anyway.
Okay. So do you think somewhere that habit of reading helped you through your journey of writing?
Yeah, hugely. But the thing is, you don't know how and when it helps you. You
Mm.
soak these things in at a young age or later. When I was a builder, in those 10 years that I was a builder in London, I didn't read a single book. But the thing is,
Ah,
I'd read a fair amount before, and
okay.
now when I write, I see stuff
Mm.
coming out and I think, oh my God, where did that come from? And then you think back to 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and you dredge up, the mind is remarkable. It dredges up all sorts of stuff. So I mean, you really do have to read if you want to be a writer, I think. Uh,
Yes, yes, great. Okay, so I think from the the introduction I have given, I think you have many different careers. You're an author, you're a designer of buildings, you're a personal trainer, and event host. So how do you juggle between these careers?
With great difficulty is the short answer. But actually, there is a little secret here. I think, I mean,
Okay.
I've discovered this, and I don't know whether it'll work for other people, but you never mix the different careers. You never compare them, and each
Mm,
career has to be blind to the other one. So, for instance, you can never say, I might make more money as a builder in 1 month than as a writer
mm,
in 5 years, which is roughly how long it takes to write the book and get it out and edit it. You know, in
mm.
1 month, you might do better as a builder. But if you say that, you will never write another book again. So
Yes.
when you're writing, you just have to concentrate on that and not think of how difficult generally a career in writing is financially, how difficult it is. And
Mm,
likewise, as a personal trainer, when somebody wants to come to me at 4:45 in the morning for a lesson, and I've had a really late night the night before, I can't think, sod it. I forget being a personal trainer. I have better things to do and then sleep in. You
yeah.
can't do that. You've got each career has to be entirely separate. So
Yes.
that's my advice anyway.
Yeah, that is true because every career, for that matter, have a purpose. May not be the purpose may not be same for every career. So
Yeah,
yes, so somewhere that gives a satisfaction. Yeah.
yeah.
So what did you like the best in the career? So if given a choice,
Oh gosh.
what?
Oh, that's a really difficult question because you're asking me to choose between my children, you know.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I think for me, I get bored
Mm.
quite easily and quite quickly. So
Okay.
it's a huge relief for me to escape from writing
Mm.
into building, from building into a personal training, or just put on a dinner jacket and get up on stage and introduce Colombo Fashion Week or something. It's really good for me to be able to change. But that's only a failing in me. Yeah, I assure you, I think normal people are better off. Uh,
Mm.
I so I can't really say which is a good career, but at any one time, something is your favorite. Now, at the moment, I've just finished a book, so I'm
Okay.
designing something, and
Okay.
if you ask me now, I would say building is my favorite career because I've just finished a book and I'm fed up with
Yeah.
writing, so I'm on to some other little thing.
True.
But in 2 months' time, I might suddenly start writing or whatever. So difficult to say
Mm.
is the answer. Difficult to say.
I got it. I got the point right. Mm. Yes. Okay. So, how many of these changes of career, were your conscious decisions, or do you think is fate played its part?
Sorry, could you repeat that? I'm a little deaf. Did you say how many of these careers?
Yeah. How many of these changes of a career were your conscious decisions, or you just left it for the fate to play its part?
Almost nothing was conscious.
Mm.
Um, because my conscious career was one in mathematics. I was going to be an actuary, which is a
Mhm.
really well paid job, but it's really boring. And I interned in an insurance company. Actuaries work for insurance companies. One summer vacation from Oxford, I worked for a huge company called the Commercial Union. I loved the people. I hated the job. It was so boring.
Mhm.
So I thought to myself, gosh, here am I stuck with a mathematics degree, and I could, being an actuary was completely out. There was no way I was going to be an actuary. Then I thought to myself, well, I could teach. But the thing was, I taught in my gap year, and I'm a really crappy teacher. So that was even worse. All these doors were closing, slamming shut. Um, so completely by accident, I ended up as a laborer on a building site, and
Mm.
then things progress from there. Now, how at what point did I turn into a writer? Well, that again is a complete coincidence. My father got cancer and died, and it was a very, very stressful time. Now, this happened 20 years ago. Um,
Oh.
and I remember bringing him home from the cancer hospital after his chemo and
Mm.
radio, and he just collapsed on a
Mm.
bed. I went into the next room, picked up an exercise book and a pencil, and I started writing. And the very first story that I ever wrote came out in like about 35 minutes flat. So complete random events. I mean,
Mm.
the cancer wasn't random, but the event of my writing,
Yeah.
sort of, and the funny thing is, I didn't write about that cancer till now. That was a very
Mm.
funny story about a tenant who never paid rent. So the
Oh, okay.
mind does really funny things. Here was I grieving for the dying man, and I'm writing funny stories about a German tenant who couldn't pay the rent. So it's called The Perfect House. It appears in my very first book. But so every career was a sort of really a chance encounter, if you like. Uh, um, the only advice I can give young people is to keep everything open. It's like a boat becalmed in the sea. You turn the sail to whichever way the wind may or may
Mm.
not blow, and you just let the boat go where the wind will take it. Don't be too conscious, in other words, of what you want to do, because you may not achieve that. Just keep your keep your
Yes.
options slightly open.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it's equally important to accept what it comes. A lot of times we just don't know what life will throw upon us, through
Absolutely.
various. Hmm.
Absolutely, and the real trick is to be open and
Yeah.
realize that sometimes there is a grander design that you
Mm.
don't realize till much later. So
Yes. We never know what universe is planning for us. So unless we
yeah,
accept it.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
So just because, when you have got this point, about, the tenant having the book that talks about the tenant, the story which you are sharing now. So how important do you think is humor in writing?
for me, hugely important. I cannot stress how important humor is to me, because the funny thing, Swarna, is this, that
Mhm.
it is much easier to make a person cry than to make them laugh.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
So writing humor is a very, very precise art. One comma out of place, and you've lost the
Mm.
joke. And you
Yeah.
know that if you have to explain the joke to your friend, it is no longer a joke. It's simply not funny. It has to come from within them. And
Yes.
you, as a writer, never really know that what you've written is funny till you put it in front of an audience. And when you hear the laughter, then you realize, yes, it's worked. So for me, this humor thing is hugely important. But I'm very sad to say that most people consider humor cheap, particularly
Mm.
judges of literary prizes. They think, oh my God, this is funny. This certainly doesn't deserve my attention. It's cheap. But I know that actually it's hugely difficult to write humor, and for me, it's
Yeah.
God given. If you make somebody laugh, that's God given.
Yes.
Something happens in that reader's brain, and they burst out laughing, and then I know I've achieved my target. So hugely important humor for me.
Oh yes, absolutely. Like how you said, the humor is at any point of time, it's very, very important. Like how you said, yes, even in, theater side also, we always see that, the ones which are nominated for the awards are like more of art films than,
Very,
the
very
more of a comic film.
serious, and people are looking in the distance. You don't know what they're thinking. There's
Yeah,
dead silence,
true.
you know. But
Yeah, the
that
tears
that's
in
all.
eyes and yeah, but then the least do they know that, humor is the one which actually, relieves that
It's
stress, or, connects it to
yeah,
the person,
and
the
also
fact
and
that is
also
being.
technically it's hugely difficult. Technically, it's really
Mm,
difficult to write.
yeah, it is.
You
It
either
is.
have it or you don't, and as I said,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to get it wrong.
Yeah. True.
I'm very easy to get it wrong. Sorry. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, like how you said, it is easy to make people cry. Very easy to make people cry. But then, yeah, giving them the laughter is the most difficult. It's a
Uh,
difficult thing. I totally agree with that. But it's the
yeah.
best one. Good. Okay. So in this book, you live the life of a builder in 1980s in London, right? And
Yeah.
why were those Thatcher years, 1980 especially? Did you have any inkling at the time of how unusual this period was going to be?
No, no. I mean, you're a builder. I mean, I don't think I read a single newspaper. I hardly watched
Mm,
TV. I certainly didn't read a book. So I had really no idea what was going on. All I knew was there was this crazy rush by young
mm,
white people to buy these flats in this very, at that stage, crime ridden but very exciting part of London. It was a very poor part of London, but it was very vibrant and very multicultural. The food was good, the
mm,
music was loud, and as
mm,
builders, we had a great time. We didn't realize how special it was. I mean, I guess we should have known if we'd read the papers that there was this economic boom. Now, people are undecided whether Mrs. Thatcher was a good thing or a bad thing, because there are people who say she was terrible. She sold everything Britain had, the crown jewels, as they say, and all this
mm,
artificial money got pumped into the system. All I know as a builder was it was a great time for builders. You know, you start work on a bunch of flats, and there was a queue of people waiting for those flats. So there was
mm,
this mad rush. But the
mm.
answer is, I mean, I certainly had no idea how special it was. And even today, people talk about those Thatcher years as if it's some sort of dream, a
Well,
dream sort of
yeah.
10 years sort of thing.
Mm.
But certainly at the time, we had no idea what it was.
Okay. So how is the market now, as a builder? You talk about
I
that.
think certainly in London, it's
Mm.
London is very clever. It goes round and round and round. So there's a good time
Like
and
the
a bad
London's
time.
eye.
Then you go. So the trick is to know when to step off the turntable. It's on in the
Uh,
Now, right now at the moment, it's supposed to be a bad time. But if I had money, I'd go and invest there because a bad time means that there's a good time coming. Do you know?
Good time for invest. Yes.
But then don't be a fool. Don't be fool enough to imagine that the good time will last forever. So again, you have to step off. So it's a roller coaster. Uh,
Yes.
I have to say I left in July '88, and again it was through no skill on my part. I stepped off absolutely at the correct time. But really, trust me, it was just luck. You know, I had turned 30. I decided I was going to go home at 30, and I left. And all my friends who were in this sort of conversion game, they all went bankrupt, and they said, "How did you know?" And actually, I didn't know. It was no skill. It was complete luck. But there again, you have to trust your intuition, And one day
Yeah, true.
I felt I needed to be back in Sri Lanka, so I left. And boy, was I lucky.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So in your books, you talk about the prose in this book, right? The GQ magazine described it as some of the most horrifyingly moving prose in recent times. So can you just would you like to elaborate a bit on that?
Do you know, when I wrote it, um, first of all, you have no choice in what you write. This book was not meant to come out now. As I said, it's about what happened with my father 20 years ago, and it's taken me this long for this book to
Mm,
come out. So
okay.
when all this kind of prose came out, and I would sit and reread it and think, gosh, where did this come from? So
Mm,
I had no control over it. But it was immensely satisfying for me to write in that way. It's like you're pushing the accelerator down very hard in the car. The car just suddenly zooms off.
mm,
You're not totally in control. But then I thought to myself, will other people see it in this way? Because that prose meant a huge amount to me, huge amount. Because
mm,
I don't think it's widely known that I was dealing with my father's death, but I had sublimated it into this grief. I was
mm,
reliving that grief of the 20 years before. And that's why that
mm.
prose turned out the way it did. But halfway through writing this book, my mother
Mm.
died. And it was like a
Oh.
nightmare. It was like a nightmare that,
Mm,
you're dreaming and you know it's a nightmare, and you wake up and you find the nightmare is real, because the same
mm,
grief was then on me like a sledgehammer again. So it was double doses. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, by digging all this grief up, have I somehow caused the death of my mother? You know, you think things like that. And of course it wasn't. Again, it was a random thing. She was, you know, but you can't help thinking to yourself, by trying to dig up the grave of this dead person, have I released some other kind of unhappiness or some other grief, you know? So it was a really terrible time for me. And I think that's why this prose was so harrowing. And like, they weren't the only people. So many different people have said, gosh, what's gone wrong with the prose, or what's right with the prose, shall we say. You know, it's different from my other books. It has to do with all this kind of grief that I was digging up, I think.
Okay. 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 Yeah. Oh, great. Okay. So, and talking about the book, why did you choose the title, The
Um,
Unmarriageable Man?
oh, actually, the title I had written it as was The Unreadable Sky, because that's the metaphor that comes out
Okay.
all the time, that you know, you look up and you see this blank page of an unreadable sky. So that's what that is my that's what I had chosen. But I think that the marketing guys decided that that was just too bland, too vague, too generic, too abstract a title. So actually, it's my lovely editor, Tarini Upal, who said, well, how about The Unmarriageable Man? And I said, bingo, great, let's go with that. Because it's a very intriguing title. And I've had a couple of
Very
complaints.
tricky. Yeah.
I've had a couple of complaints from readers who said, but there's nothing about an unmarriageable man in this book. Who is the unmarriageable man?
Yeah.
But actually, early on, they probably missed it. Early on, I described my father in the first chapter, I think, as that quintessential unmarriageable man. In fact, you know, what I say is my father was a very common type in South Asia, this man who should never have got married, because he was, life was so much more to him than just marriage. But me as the kid there was complaining that this man should never have got married, you know. So he was the unmarriageable man. But many people missed that, and they were sort of quite mad with me, actually. One person was really mad. She said, you know, who is this unmarriageable man? And why have you written this book and this strange title? But anyway, so I blame my lovely editor, but actually I think it's a very good title, because hopefully they won't pick up the book for the wrong reasons. But anyway,
Yes.
they won't pick up the book.
I was about to say that. I mean, the title must have sold more than the book.
I hope so. I hope so. And I have to say my wife, when she read that title, she said, well, that's a perfect description of you, she said. You're completely unmarriageable, she said. So she certainly agrees.
Great. That was hilarious. Okay, so when we're talking about the grief part of it, I think the other part of the book is pretty much talks about the personal grief, right? So how
Yes.
each one of us deals with it. It's a kind of risky subject, but then because yeah, a lot of people make find it difficulty or more of emotional when going through the personal grief. It's difficult to accept. So why did you choose this subject?
Well, as I said earlier, Swarna, I mean, I didn't choose it, it chose me.
Mm,
It was, you know, I pushed it to the back of my mind. I knew one
yeah.
day I would have to deal with that huge amount of grief. I was the only the sibling in Sri Lanka when my father died. My brother's in New York, he's a doctor, my sister's in London. And I had to
Mm,
deal with this whole thing. But it's very, very difficult, because my brother is a doctor. It's very difficult for me to take medical decisions, knowing that there's
mm,
this weight of professional expertise
mm,
that might condemn me for a bad decision. Once I remember they wheeled him into the, it's in the book, I won't spoil it.
mm,
And I had to take a call. Do we operate? Do we not? And I thought,
mm,
gosh, I'm in a casino here gambling. I didn't know what the answer was, and I had to take the risk and take the choice. Anyway, all that kind of stuff I knew had to come out in a book at some point. But I just didn't realize it would come out now. I thought maybe another 20 years from now, 40 years after I started writing, you know, but it just jumped the queue, and it came out. So it chose me. But
mm,
it is a very if you like, it's a difficult subject, to write. It's a
Yeah.
difficult subject to read because we all go through it. Every one of us has to deal with the death of a child or a parent or a sibling.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
one of us. So,
Yes.
so, and we'd rather not. We'd rather forget it and think that it doesn't exist.
Mm.
I think in a way I was lucky because I write a lot of humor. So although it's a sad
Mm.
subject, there's a lot of humor in there.
Mm.
A Sri Lankan funeral, for instance, is one of the funniest things alive, a Sri Lankan funeral, because people come for all
Mm.
the wrong reasons. They come to show because they feel it's a famous funeral, or it's this, or it's that, or then there are the others who are professional mourners who will scream and cry loudly, but they don't mean a thing. They don't mean that at all. So
The
I do
whole.
make fun. I do make fun
Okay.
of some of those aspects of grief. Your neighbors, that they're dying to come to the funeral because they want to see what you have in your kitchen cupboards. They want to have a look inside the house. So uh, people come,
Yeah.
grief has its funny moments, and I try to dwell on those as much as the sad
Yeah.
moments. Um,
That's interesting. Interesting side to look at it, and that's a true sense.
it's the truth. It's
In
the
true
truth.
sense, it's a truth.
Yeah.
It's a truth.
I
Actually,
think
yeah.
particularly in South Asia, I think in the West people are much more sensible about funerals. You simply don't go
Yeah.
if you're not invited. In South
Mm.
Asia, you may not never have met the dead man, but you may have just read about him or heard about him. You turn up, and then you
Yeah.
expect to be fed as well. You have to feed all these hundreds of people because nobody will go away on an empty stomach from a South Asian funeral. So,
Yeah, and I never understand that, the professional mourners, people appoint them. So I never
yeah.
understand the concept behind that,
Quite right,
actually.
quite right, quite right. I mean, it's just it's very comic because when they know you're
Yeah.
looking at them, suddenly they wail and they scream and like, and if they feel you're not looking, then they'll stop. So it's yeah,
The professional actors.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Great. Okay. Okay. So yeah, in your books, you tread that fine line, between the commercial and literary writing. So was it a easy thing or a difficult thing?
Um, First of all, you don't know what you're going to write, and you never really know till you're about 10 years into the career. You don't really know what sort of writer you are. Um,
Mm.
I think I've been quite lucky that my books seem to go straight down the line between commercial
Mm.
and I nearly said commercial and residential. The builder in me came out just then. Between commercial fiction and literary fiction. Now,
Okay.
it's very easy to write totally commercial fiction, and
Mm.
generally commercial fiction writers are much richer than the rest of us because their books sell by the ton. Literary fiction sells nothing. So it's a question of either having lots of food on the table or starving and being satisfied in your mind, but not satisfy your hunger. So I was quite
Yeah.
lucky that time and time again people have said you're right down the middle there. But to remain
Mm.
down that middle is difficult. I think this last book errs, if that's the word, errs on the side of literary fiction because people
Mm.
are noticing the prose there. So I
Mm.
didn't really choose for it to be overtly literary, uh,
Okay.
and I never really choose for a book to be overtly commercial.
For
So
sure.
I think
Mm.
each of us has their place. There are so many writers I admire deeply who are completely
Mm.
literary in their fiction, but I
Mm.
know they will have a very hard time in life keeping body and soul together because it's not often that literary fiction strikes
Yeah,
gold.
one cannot go
You
without the
can be
other.
writing for 20 years and suddenly somebody will pick up and say, God, this is good. This is literary, but it's really good. Whereas a commercial fiction writer can make it big very quickly.
Yeah.
But people might read it and never read it again. So it's a
Mm.
difficult one. But I do have to
Yeah.
say that we don't choose to write what we
Mm.
write. It just
Yeah.
comes out of us. You can't sit and say, I'm going to write the great novel about the Sri
Mm.
Lankan Civil War, or I'm going to write the definitive novel about the Sri Lankan tsunami. You can't do it. That's not how it works. It comes out of you. If I could talk about a parallel career as a builder, as a designer of houses, you can never build a house from the outside in. It always has to start from the inside out. You have to think, where would I like to sit in the morning in my kitchen and drink my cup of coffee with the sun coming in? So you look to see where the sun is coming in and you think, this is where I'm going to have my kitchen. You know, you can't say, I am going to build this palace that's going to look fabulous, etc. That's not how building works. You know, truly great design is from the inside out. Same with writing. Exactly the same with writing. It has to come from the inside out. All too often, I pick up books which are great literary books or whatever, and I think this is written from the outside in. You know, so you will read it for the beauty of the literature, but it won't stay with you because you know the writer's heart is not in it. You know, so and readers can pick that up. Readers are not stupid. Never underestimate the reader, because the reader will know exactly where you're coming from. So anyway, to get back to this thing, you know, your heart has to be in it, and you have to write from the inside out.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So who do you show this usually? Whenever you finish your initial draft. So who are the first few people you show your draft with?
Well, when I wrote my first book, it's called Colpity People. It is a funny one with the story about the tenant who never pays rent.
Okay.
That book, I showed the manuscript to my 3 closest friends who actually live in England, because I grew up with them. I went to boarding school with them, etc. Do you know that was about 23 years ago? Not one of them has still given me any feedback. The silence was deafening. You know, and I think it left me with a permanent complex, because obviously they didn't think very much of it. You know, still to this day, you know, they haven't given me any feedback. So that taught me a very bitter lesson. Never show it to anyone. You know, so fast forward 20 years, I now, at least quite early on, I decided I'm not going to show it to anyone. I just write that draft. I'm the only person who sees it. No, not even my wife. And actually, she's the one who gave me that advice. She said, look, you know, write what you want. I can tell you what I like or what I don't like, but don't listen to me, because it's your book. You need to write. So it makes life very easy for me. I have no feedback. I do that first draft, then I do a second or a third. And then pretty much at that point, I send it off to my agent, the lovely Nita Kapoor in Jaipur. And she is actually the first person who sees the draft, not me. I mean, like, you know, there's nobody else between me and the agent. I'm a lazy bugger, and that's probably why I do it like this. But I have to say that those 3 friends of mine scarred me for life. They didn't react.
So maybe you have to write a book about them, like how you've written about the tenant.
That's a very good idea. Very good idea.
Oh, good. Yeah. True. I can agree to this because it's good to have the feedback, but still, when you are writing what's there in your mind, so you never know who your audience will be. When
Yeah.
you start writing a book. Yeah. So
Absolutely. And you till you put that book out, you have no idea who's going to read it. When that first book, Colpity People, got picked up it got shortlisted for an award here, the Gratian Prize, and then got picked up by a publisher here called Pereira Hussain. I remember going to see them about a month before the book was out, and I begged them. I said, please, just do 200 copies, because I figured I could force all the old aunties to buy 200 copies. I thought I can somehow get this 200 copies. And they looked at me and they said, are you crazy? We're not in this for charity. We're doing our housing projects or whatever, you know. And I came away utterly dejected. I thought, oh God, they're going to have all these books unsold, and I'll be the laughing stock of everyone in Colombo. Well, anyway, they were proved right. I was proved wrong. That first edition sold out in 2 weeks or whatever. And so anyway, it went on. But as a writer, you have no idea,
Mm.
because
You
you
have
don't
no
know
idea. Absolutely.
who's going to like that book. You have no,
Yeah.
and you might have an idea of an elderly auntie reading that book, and then you find a
Mm.
young person. I once had a job on this very fabulous cruise line. I was lecturing on Sri Lanka, and
Okay.
A Vietnamese lady who lived in the Midwest of the US of A came, and
Mm.
she said, "My goodness," she said, "I've just read your book, and I have to tell you, it's just like life in Saigon, which is Ho Chi Minh City, when I used to live there." I thought, gosh, that's amazing. Who would have thought that a book written in Sri Lanka about life in Colombo would have resonance with somebody from Ho Chi
In
Minh City?
Vietnam.
It's
Mm.
yeah. So that's the power of literature. You just don't know
Yes.
who your arrow. You don't know where
Exactly.
your arrow will find its mark.
True.
So it's also,
Exactly.
as if I would have to
Mm.
advise young writers, never have a picture in your mind of who you're writing to, because that is like
Yeah.
looking in the mirror, and you
Mm.
will end up writing bad stuff. Just write from your heart. Don't look in the mirror, uh, because that is rather like an actor playing to the gallery, knowing
Mm.
that there's somebody important in the audience, and therefore you're tailoring your
True.
performance to that. Never do that. Do it for yourself.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. In fact, I was about to going to ask you the next question. You've answered it right away. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's a beautiful advice coming from Mr. Ashok. So, whoever aspires to become a writer, put your thoughts, your own thoughts, in your own way. Just don't care about how perfectly it'll come out, or is it going to impress this particular audience, or
um,
is it going to be hard? Yeah.
and Swarna, if I could add just one little
Yeah, yeah, sure.
bit more to that advice, I
Mm,
think we in South Asia, one of the biggest problems we have as authors, writers, designers, whatever, is we feel the weight of other
mm,
family members, fathers, mothers, aunts, watching us over
mm,
our shoulders. So
yeah.
if I write a story about an alcoholic, I will worry that my auntie will say, "Well, obviously you must have been an
Yeah.
alcoholic, otherwise how could you have written this book?" So it's very difficult for us South Asians to lose our inhibitions. And
Exactly.
it's taken
Exactly.
me 20 odd years. I
Mm.
wrote, sort of 10 years in, I wrote a book called The Professional, which is kind of a dodgy book. And I was really glad that by then my mother's eyesight was so poor, she was never going to read that book. But I would have been really worried writing that book if I knew my mother was going to read it. So even at my age, you worry. So
Yeah.
what I would tell any young person in South Asia wanting to write a book, try to forget that family, the
Mm.
beady eye of your family looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
Easy for me to
Yes.
say, very difficult to do. Very difficult to do, to lose your inhibitions.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I
Absolutely.
interrupted you. Sorry.
No, no, no. Absolutely. This is a very good point here, actually, Mr. Ashok, because see, like how you said, in South Asia, there's definitely this problem of being judgmental. People whatever even for that matter, when we put in something from whatever the book we have read, or whatever we have heard it in day-to-day business. So when we change our status, just because we like the point, we just put it in our WhatsApp status. Everybody starts, giving you a call, or giving you a message. What happened?
Immediately,
What happened?
immediately, yes.
Yeah. So that is so relatable when you said this, because even when we start writing, putting our own thoughts in the form of words, or in the form of
Yeah,
a book. So
yeah,
it's a very, very, very true that people will start judging that, or
yeah,
is it the person truly, is it they just relate to the person who is writing it,
yeah,
not
yeah,
to his.
yeah, yeah. And time again, I get asked, "Is this autobiographical? Is this autobiographical?
That.
Is this about you?" And the truth
Yeah.
is, yeah, and the truth is that of course you're writing from your own experiences and your friends' experiences, or people or situations
Exactly.
that you have been in, even if you may not have participated, you were there, so you saw
Mm,
what happened. But you pick and choose and you mix and match. So it's never just about you.
Yeah.
It's never
Never,
just
never just
about
about
somebody else.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
So
No, it's
at least
never,
that's our
never going to
excuse.
be just, yeah.
At least that's our excuse, and we have to stick to it. But really, in fact, it is never just, I mean,
Yeah.
because quite often real life is quite boring, and
Yeah.
fiction. I mean, I keep saying this. You know, you fictionalize real life, but you do it in such a way. Sometimes real life can be much stranger than the fiction you write.
Yeah.
So you have to make it. It's very similitude that you're after, not
Mm.
authenticity. It's authenticity, but not the truth per se. So anyway,
Yeah.
we're getting off the subject. I'm sorry. I keep dredging it off.
No, it's important, though it's a bit off the book, but then, it's a kind of very important advice for the, young writers, the new generators, because a lot of people won't, though they want to be writer, so they'll have a lot of inhibitions in them, maybe, point of, they think they must be, like how we were discussing, they have the fear of being judged. And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, that
yeah.
is also a problem. So,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, yep. So, yes, so ladies and gentlemen, I think we have almost come to the end of the show. So, with that great piece of advice from Mr. Ashok, start writing what's in your mind and just pour it out what's in your heart. Don't think of anything else, don't, feel any burden of somebody above you, and, just be yourself. Yeah.
Just go for it. Just go for it.
Just go for it. That's the life all about, because yeah, so at any point, even if you write or don't write, people still judge you, so that doesn't matter.
Exactly, exactly. Whatever you write, people will assume
People
the
still
worst.
judge you. That, see, at the end of the day, life is not just us, we are surrounded by people, that we are living in a community. We're living in
Yeah.
obviously, we'll have a lot of experiences based on that. True. Okay, thank you so much, Ashok. It was wonderful conversing with you on this beautiful book. So, and I think the books are available on Amazon, right?
Yes, it's Amazon and what else?
In,
Gosh, I'm not really sure myself. But it's
okay.
Penguin India. But it
Yes.
is available on Amazon India and lots of. I'm sure
Yeah.
there are lots of sites.
Yes.
It is. But thank you very
Yes.
much, Varna. That was really great, and I really enjoyed myself. And I hope I've given some advice to young writers, and I hope
Oh,
you
yes. Oh, yes. In fact, this point was not being touched so far. I mean, from the interviews I had before, this particular point of being judged wasn't touched, and that was quite relatable and quite a point to be noted for all the readers out there. Just
and
yeah, just go for it.
for me personally, it was one of the most important things because we
Yeah,
live in
it
small
is.
societies in South Asia.
It
Even
is.
if it's
It
a
is.
big city, it's a small society, and you're
Yeah.
so worried, So you really have
No,
to kind of go for it
yeah.
and lose that inhibition. So anyway,
Exactly. Yes. Go for it, guys. Go for it. So you just whatever it comes your mind, just do it and go for it. So otherwise, you would never know the consequences. So at least to know that, you have to go for it.
true, true.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Ashok. It was, very nice talking to you, and a pleasure to have you in our show tonight. And all the ladies and gentlemen who are watching us live, thank you so much for your time. We'll be seeing you next week with another author and another beautiful book. So until then, care of you. Have a good day.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.